We're about to kick off the next talk of the day. We have Marcio Almeida, and his talk today is Unveiling the Apple CVE-2024-40834, a shortcut to the bypass road. Big round of applause for Marcio.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is all right. Not much hungover people, I hope, like after the party yesterday. Welcome to my talk. Pretty exciting to be here. First time presenting BSidesCbr. I come every year, but decided to submit some talks this year, after some research endeavors with my team. And I'm gonna talk about a really interesting bug that's pretty simple. Please don't be disappointed. That I found during analyzing the shortcuts application. Then I'll explain to you guys where everything is. But that's the title of the talk, a shortcut to the bypass road. But let's start with a better presentation showing that's basically the talk. So. Okay, to the people that don't know me, my name is Marcio. I'm the technical director in the Tanto Security. I really enjoy playing CTFs, but mostly a retired player today. Don't play too much. The only one that I usually play every year is still the one, the CTF. I recommend you to play if you guys don't do. Please try it out. It's pretty cool. And I've been more than 15 years in that industry. I'm Brazilian, but over here in Australia, have been, I don't know, since 2015. If you want to connect with me, that's my X, my LinkedIn, and my GitHub. You can find some pieces of code or some kind of exploits that I wrote in the past, and yeah, have fun. So cool. So that's the talk outline. We're gonna explain to you guys what's the shortcuts application, some built-in protections they have in place to avoid people doing nasty stuff, because they're a really powerful tool, used for automation, and then show you guys some read, write, execute primitive actions that we can use. Then I just jump straight to the CVE, explain how we bypass the enable script. Right, that's one of the main protections to avoid people to execute code. Then how we can share malicious silent shortcuts with people, and then the patch applied by Apple, and some final considerations. Cool. So what is this? What's the shortcuts? It's basically an application that's the continuation of the Automator tool, pretty much. I think Apple still have the Automator, but the shortcuts basically lets you automate tasks with actions. Okay, tasks. Let's say if you want to transform a JPEG in a PNG, basically you can do that with actions, and actions would be open the file, then another action would be convert the file, and the other action would be save that file to disk. And after that, you can share your shortcuts with people. And sorry. You can share shortcuts with people, and the cool thing is because those shortcuts probably going to be signed by Apple by itself. Just this fact already bypasses some protections they have in place that allows you just to run the shortcut smoothly. And they also have a marketplace where you can put it there and just wait people to download your shortcut. Or sometimes if you have can even put a shortcut there, let people start get familiarized with it. And then you can update your code, and yeah. So they have this marketplace that's pretty cool, where people can go there and download shortcuts to do some actions. And let's talk now about the built-in protection. So here is the advanced configuration of shortcuts, where you can see they have allow running scripts. So to run a shell script, JavaScript, or any kind of automation, Apple script, using shortcuts, you need to enable this checkbox, and then you'll be able to run them. Otherwise, they'll be blocked by default. It also not allows you to share a large amount of data. Do not allow you to delete any file without confirmation, and also a large amount of files. Let's say if you have a folder that's full of files inside, you cannot delete that unless you enable this protection, okay? And also it has the privacy control, when you run a shortcut for the first time, it's asking for some permissions, like access to home folder, the privacy pop-up will show and say, hey, the shortcut X is asking access to your home folder. You want to allow it, but that's just, it only runs the first time, and after you click OK, that will never be asked again. And it's also like a pretty common with normal shortcuts. Like let's say if you use stuff to change everything inside of your documents folder or your downloads folder or whatever, every time like a common shortcut that actually do not malicious stuff, that privacy consent pop-up will show up for you, and the users actually, they're like a pretty common for them to click OK. So they use OK, asking permission, OK, go for it. Unless you're a little bit paranoid, of course. And then only signed shortcuts now can be shared, because before, basically, you could write a shortcut, share it with everyone, and that was kind of a problem, and Apple started like signing the shortcuts. So if you want to share a shortcut that you wrote with someone, you need to submit that to Apple, so they will have a copy of it, and they will sign it for you. But like in this presentation, we're going to tackle the first protection here, that the allow running scripts, right? So we want to execute code, but we want to execute that in any machine, and we know that that protection is enabled by default, and we want to bypass it. So what actions are? So this is a list of actions. If you want to talk about each one of them, and that's, I don't know, that's not even a third of the options that are here. It's just like the ones related to files and open applications. So if you go to shortcuts, you see like many actions. So because of like a time constraint, I'll just talk about the ones that are like important for this talk. So we have like the open app and quit app. Basically, when you use this one, you can point to an app that's installed in the system. And the ones that in the right is the ones that are like related to files. So you have like a file that will generate a file handler for you. You can rename a file. You can save files to disk. You can delete, of course, move, append text to file, and open a file as well. And the cool thing about shortcuts, because every action is like a block. So you can entwine blocks as well and use one as input of the other. All right? And many more. Like if you open the shortcuts, you see how many and how powerful this tool is. And also, we're not even talking here the ones that like enable running JavaScript, for instance, that is showing there, to execute code directly. Okay. Cool. So what we learned so far, that's like execution of scripts is blocked by default. However, we can read, write, move, rename, and open applications without any kind of special permissions that we need to give to the application, okay? So my first idea when I look into that, like, can we use these primitives maybe to execute code? And with like a CTFer mindset, the first thing that comes in mind that you usually exploit this kind of primitives in CTF challenges is, okay, can I write maybe a public key to the authorized keys if it has SSH enabled? Maybe can I write a cron job and just wait that cron job runs and execute my code? And another one is, maybe can I write to the bash RC or a Z-shell RC that's like a special files in the system that when we open the terminal application, they will automatically run the content of this file, right? So it's pretty common use to people when you need to set up like environment variables in your shell. You go to this file, put your environment variables there to be mounted, and when you run terminal, everything will be ready and nice for you to use. So from all those options, the one that we're going to tackle is this idea. So it's a pretty simple idea. So can we bypass it using this idea? And that's like the shortcut that I wrote to prove that concept. So here we have like the core, like running the download of like a shell script and running in bash. I didn't need to do that. I could just put open calculator there. I just did this way because it's just an example that you can download anything, could be anything. And the cool stuff is because everything that you download with core gonna bypass like a gatekeeper. So we're not gonna ask you permission to run it saying that it was downloaded from the internet. So you could like put like I don't know, a Cobalt Strike or any kind of like a C2 code here to run, or even like install persistence. your mind will tell you what you want to do. But in this case, like just for the sake of the POC, we're just going to open the calculator application. And then we use the append, where I'm going to put the content of this text, making a new line in the end of the zshell rc file, and then I open terminal and then close terminal, okay? So there is like just a short video showing that happening. But here, first, I need actually to create the zshell rc file, because it does not exist. Cool, that's it. And then I run the shortcut to show, and nice. This works. The idea was successful. Nice, so I got like an exploit, I managed to bypass this, and cool, but and if the file does not exist on disk, right? Because that could be a problem. Not everyone is a dev, not everyone likes to create like a, you know, the zshell file inside of the system to see if they will be working. So that's gonna maybe potentially limit our attack. Let's see how that will work when the file does not exist in disk. So just showing the file does not exist, and I'm listing another type of file here with a text extension because it will be important in a minute. And I run again, and the calculator does not pop up, so our code do not run. And okay, just showing to you guys what's going to happen is because by default, when the file that you want to write with append does not exist, it actually always adds the .text extension to it. And that's not cool, because for our attack to work, we actually need the file to be like a zshell script. So that's not bueno. So then I needed to find a way to bypass this, because if I always add text and after, I don't know, multiple trials or trying to use different actions to the shortcut, I end up like trying to find a better way, right? So challenge accepted, let's do it. So this is the payload that I came up with. Initially here, what I needed to do was like save the text file to the master directory. Another important thing here. When we say we see Marcio is because of my home user. Shortcuts, by default, a cool thing is because it treats the home user no matter the name. If I send that file to a different user, like let's say the name of the user will be Peter, so it automatically transfers that home folder instead of master will be Peter's, because it's just a pointer to the home directory. So it's pretty conventional, right? Because you can basically share with anyone, and that idea gonna work. So what I do is I just append, save the text of like my exploit inside of the file xxx, and then I chain that with like setting the name of the file. So I rename that then to .zshrc, but since it will be saved inside of like that subpath xxx, I need to use the move file, and then I move that inside back to my home folder. And this trick actually gonna bypass the .text extension that's always appended when you use text content to save to files. So here's the exploit working. Showing the file does not exist. I run it and it works nicely. Cool, thank you. And then just like showing the contents. Yep. Exploits there, nice. All right, so that's the final payload, the one that ended up like submitting to Apple and showing, hey, that was like a bypass that I got. And the cool thing is because this exploit in the case like works in any scenario. So this is just like X-skeleton, right? You could add actually this action in anything that's actually useful to the user to convince them to install this shortcut, or even like maybe publish some stuff inside of like the market workplace for the shortcuts and wait users to run. And yeah, so what I needed to do was save the payload to the temp file, to a temp directory, then rename it to zshrc, and then move the file back to the home directory and profit. And okay, so comes now the next part, how we can use that actually to abuse in phishing engagement. So to share a shortcut, when you click in the share button, it's gonna generate a link for you. And that link, like once you navigate to the browser, basically it comes this page from Apple where you can just get the shortcut. And when you click that get button, basically is a web request. And if you put that through Burp, like probably is like pretty small for you guys see, but the link to download the signer shortcuts there, so you can simply use that link, download the shortcut file, and serve it in a different way, like emailing it to users and convincing them or adding them to a different page and telling them they need to install that. Like let's say if you have like a company that have like a process to onboard people. If you go to LinkedIn, for instance, and investigate the people that work there and then just the new hires, because people like to put like when they join a company, and then you could, for instance, send a fake email to them saying then they need to install this shortcut to automate some of the tasks, and if they install and run it, this is pretty much like a game over. And the cool thing is because this payload gonna bypass the gatekeeper, and the only thing they're gonna see is because since the shortcut's signed by Apple, will be the privacy consent for them to click OK, and once they click OK once, you can get access to the machine. And here's like will be like a pretty shitty kind of like a phishing attempt, not even close to the ones that have been presented here, just like to show how it would work. So when you click in the link, you can download it directly. Yep. And once you run it in Apple system, it just accepts it because it's signed. If you add the shortcut, and then if you run it, it's just gonna pop it, the privacy consent, and if you click OK, it runs and executes perfectly in a different system. Even everything in my system when I create that was saying the home directory was named Marcio and whatever, everything gonna work. Okay, so I submitted that to Apple. So I reported the vulnerability in February, and took them some time, almost like a month, to triage the vulnerability, and they started investigating the root cause. And I asked about some updates regarding the patching progress, and saying that I was planning to submit the content of this talk to some security conferences. Then Apple informed me they are like planning to patch this vulnerability in summer to 2024. That was like inside of the time frame of this talk, and that was cool. And then they released a patch in July, end of July. I assigned this CVE. And yesterday, when I was like finishing up like the thoughts on this slide, I ended up like sending a message to them to ask, hey, any kind of like a bug bounty related to that, and they say like informally, because it requires user interaction, so it's mostly like a kind of bug that will be used for phishing attempts, does not qualify for a bounty. So yeah, thanks Apple. Okay, so let's have a look now in which was the patch that applied for Apple. So if you see here on the top right, they basically just added a new pop-up saying to the user, hey, you really want to run this shortcut? Maybe it's changing like a shell configuration file. Maybe it could be malicious. But if you click OK, you still can run it, right? So they have already like some blocks, like for instance, where you need to enable the configuration of the file, like by default. So I guess like in my idea, if like you want to avoid users like clicking stuff, like it's a pretty hard task to do. If you work in a blue team, you know how hard it is to teach users to not clicking stuff. If they end up like clicking OK again, it's still going to work. So will be this sufficient? I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no, but the time will say, I guess. Don't hurt like before if people using that for as like as a payload to get first access in engagements, but definitely we will start using that. So yeah, so here is an example how the patch works. So if you click in play, it will say to you, hey, that changed some configuration. If you click OK, it still runs. And the difference is because it runs every time that you click in play. And another thing is, even if you click in do not allow, it does not block indefinitely. So if you run again, it will just pop and allow you to run if you want. So it's not like a hard block if you click in do not allow. Yeah, so final considerations about this talk. Told you guys that going to be a quick one. So yeah. So the shortcuts has like a massive attack surface, guys. So as you guys saw, it has a lot of potential, a lot of like dangerous things that can be used, a lot of file manipulation, and not even touching the surface here. Like as an example, there's actions like get contents of URL or open X callback URL that allows you to use the file handle, right? So one of the things that you can do, like for instance, is read files inside of the system and leak through SSRF. Other bugs that were reported shortcuts, leaking contents of users that were actually using those two action premises. And they not only allow you to use file, but anything that you can register, like any kind of callback. A cool thing in Apple is because if you download a plist file that has like a specific URL handle, it automatically registers that URL handle for you. So you can maybe mix and match some different type of attacks and try it out. And other easy bypass, like definitely I think still exists in the Apple ecosystem, and you can find them too. Just need to start looking for them. And that's it. Thank you for coming. Yeah.
Do we have any questions for Marcio? Wave crazy if you do. Yep, up the back.
What?
We can't hear you. Wait for the mic.
It's all right, I was just shit talking anyway. Can you stop looking for bugs and shortcuts? Because Apple will just rip the whole feature out.
Sorry.
Was it?
Thanks for the talk.
I think he said, stop looking for bugs, otherwise Apple will rip the whole capability out or feature out. Is that right? All right, another big round of applause for Marcio.
Thank you, guys.